Hello, sir. How are you?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Adam Kovacs, and I'm the executive director of the Sourcing 7, which is a
Hmm,
nonprofit based out of the wider Seattle area. And our purpose is to basically help everyone in the people industry raise their game a little bit by providing free access to training and education, professional training and education for talent acquisition professionals, recruiters, sourcers, and all that.
very cool. Very cool. Now, I happen to know you have some very cool things up your sleeve, and you're going to share with me, or share with us rather, something pretty cool. What is that cool thing? I said cool a lot.
It is cool. I think it is cool. So what I wanted to share is Perplexity AI, which is
Okay.
a AI search engine. The you might ask, but hey, we already know ChatGPT. We already do like Hugging Face. We know like Claude and Anthropic. Why should I even register and create an account on this new tool? And what does it do? Um, my answer to that is that it's actually not competing with either like ChatGPT or Claude. This tool is
Hmm.
competing with Google. Like the closest that you can get to this is, I think Google's call it the search generative experience, where these days if you run a search on Google, at the top it's generating a search summary for you. This is somewhat similar to that, but I think it's supercharged compared to that, because you can have all sort of follow-up questions to your search, and surprisingly enough, the search engine can have a follow-up question to you to clarify your needs even better.
I like that. I like that.
Here we are. So, Perplexity. I'll just quickly walk through the interface over here. It has a ask me anything function over here, but before we get there, you can see this little pro function over here. That's the reason I recommend everyone to create an account, because even with a free account, you have access to the pro search, which are search agents. That's the functionality of going out and reading more than three, actually reading 20, 25, even up higher numbers of search results than that, and coming back to summarize it. And also the pro functionality comes with the follow-up questions and clarifying questions that only exists with the pro functionality. And with the free account, you get, I think, 5 pro searches per day. But I definitely, if you are thinking about paying for an AI tool, I would put Perplexity AI on your radar. And the reason behind it is that it's not just a search tool. If I go over here under the focus, you see there is like the writing, and the writing option is the same as you are used to in like ChatGPT or Claude. But here comes the funky thing. Paying for Perplexity AI allows you to use ChatGPT 4 and also use Claude if you want, because in your settings, you can define which LLM do you want Perplexity to use when writing your answers. So that's one of the reasons I definitely recommend trying out at least a month trial of Perplexity. But from a function standpoint, it's not as robust as the custom GPTs of ChatGPT and all the extensions, but it does have these 6 little functions over here. One is the search across the entire internet, right? Do the search only in academic papers, write some content, use Wolfram Alpha. Like if you want correct computations and correct math, you can use Wolfram Alpha. And you can also search in like YouTube video content, or actually search for your answers based only on Reddit threads, which I think is a very, very interesting way of
Hmm.
doing stuff. So that is sort of the interface. But let me actually do this and ask a question. What is Perplexity AI?
Good
And
question.
right? But it's a
Hmm.
good example to show you what's actually doing over here. So as you can see, it goes up out in the internet. It runs searches. It looks through like 5 sources in this case, like Perplexity's website, Perplexity's blog, Wikipedia, and some third-party articles as well, and gives you a summary. right? It's writing you out everything over here of when was it founded and all the details of it. Two things to highlight. One, you can see there are references everywhere. Where is this answer coming from, right? Like when was it founded? Like here is the page where that information is coming from. And because this is working slightly differently than when Claude or ChatGPT gives you the references. Over there, it's giving you the reference to sort out where is the training material coming from. This is giving you the reference to the search result from where this answer is coming from. And of course, look what's over here. You can ask follow-up questions. But before we do that, let's actually do something that it's more sourcing related.
Okay.
Let's look for information. Let's imagine that you're in healthcare sourcing and you are looking for nurses, but you have no idea where should you start. Like which states have the most nurses? Let's ask that question. Let's do that. Which states have the most certified nurses in the USA? Question mark. Let's actually turn on Pro. The reason that you turn on Pro is that it runs more searches. Like if you look over here in the steps, you see that what was the actual search that it did? What were the websites that it went through? And here is the answer. And it's giving you the numbers. But do you want this in a format that it's more digestible? You can, because it has the writing functionality, you can tell it like create a table ranking the highest state top. Let's keep it simple. It understands your question. And here is the follow-up question. When does Google come back to you asking, wait a second, what do you mean? What specific information do you want to have included in this table? Like, let's say certified nurses. And it makes sense of the follow-up question. Based on the follow-up question, it does run the search again. It does go through, in this case, what is this? 9 plus 3, 12 search results. And it's generating an answer for you. It's actually creating you a table. So
Nice.
it can do both. It can do this search and also generating the type of content in the type of format that you are looking for. So I find this very, very valuable in the research stage when you are sourcing.
I already like it above ChatGPT from the standpoint of when I run a prompt on ChatGPT and it gives me an answer, it's not forthcoming from where the answer was sourced from.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
can
like
ask for it,
yeah,
but it's hit or miss sometimes.
exactly. And since ChatGPT can hallucinate from time to time,
Oh,
I
yes.
like, yeah, I like that. With Perplexity, it lets me know where the information is coming from. So I do appreciate that.
Let's just look at the different, let's lose some tech.
Okay.
Software engineers in, say, Miami, Florida. Understanding the question. See, right now, it's not coming back with a follow-up question because it's non-relevant in this case. So it's interesting that the follow-up questions are happening when they're actually relevant over there, right? But again, you see it once through like Indeed, Glassdoor, built-in levels.fyi, which we can say that it's sort of the go-to source for up-to-date salary information these days, salary.com, even like Gusto, and comes back and it gives you all the information. And it makes sense of the information that it's on the different pages. Like it's telling you like, hey, based on Glassdoor, this is what we see. Based on levels.fyi, this is the information that we get. And it's interesting because I did not specify different skill sets or different levels, but it's thinking about it, right? Like if you look down over here, senior level management, like engineering manager, director, CTO, it's a higher range and it's giving you the resources for that. And of course, if you want to have follow-up question, what could be a follow-up question? Which company pays the most?
Good question.
Let's see if it works. Here's the interesting thing. This was
Hmm.
my search term. Like, this is what I asked for. Look at the
Right.
search that it ran. It transforms my question into a search term that is making
Ah.
sense from a search engine standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. Facebook with an average total compensation of 327,000 according to levels.fyi.
Hmm.
Apple, Citrix, Microsoft, and Oracle.
You know,
And just
I'm wondering, ask which company pays the least, because I think one aspect of sourcing people overlook is that they find people, but they don't always think about, can I find the people that my client can afford? You know, you look at that $185,000 salary, and then one client might say, "Whoa, that's way too much. We can't afford that." So if you start maybe with companies that are they have qualified talent and their salary is a little bit lower, you may be able to save yourself some grief um, in that regard.
let's see what it does.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
asked which company is paying sub 1,000 USD, 100,000 USD for mid-level software engineers. And it did not forget the context. Like, look at the search that it ran in Miami.
University of
Fairlogic,
Miami,
University
Fairlogic.
of Miami.
Okay, cool. So I could then go look at the job descriptions of software developers there and see if their requirements meet my needs and maybe target them
Definitely,
for sourcing. So yeah, yeah, I
definitely.
like that.
Great. Getting actual profiles is a
Hmm.
little bit more trickier because so far in this current state, you don't have the operators as you have on like Google, where you say like, just give me file type PDF or anything like that. So it takes some back and forth. And also, let's not forget that we are in the middle of a debate between providers and AI tools about scraping information
Sure.
and using that. So, for example, when you just straight ask it, like, give me LinkedIn URLs, 3 out of 4 times it won't tell you. So it might you might need to do a little back and forth. But let's try it out. Let's say,
Okay.
show me profiles of potential candidates in my what type of potential software engineering candidates in Miami. Let's just go with that. Let's see what happens. Follow-up question: what specific criteria or skills are you looking for in potential software engineering candidates? Let's say Java programming, because why not?
Hmm. So no sense giving you 8 sources. With the free version, you only get, I think, 4 or 5 sources.
Yes, and you see the number of results that it's making sense of varies from question to question, right? Like, if it's
Hmm.
a big complex question, then it's running more searches. But here are examples. Like, you got to go back and forth. Show me URLs or show me actual profiles of software engineering candidates based in Miami. Um, Use GitHub. Let's see what happens.
Hmm.
What programming language? Let's stick with one thing to note over here. It's also giving you guiding questions, like guiding answers to the questions. It's not just like, hey, what do you want? It's giving you recommendations based on the context of the question. Here's an interesting thing. Sourcers might pick that one up. It knows how to operate Boolean. It knows how to look at the searching the web site, github.com, software engineering candidates, Miami, Java.
Interesting. Now I'm wondering that I know with some AI tools they get better because they learn you and
Yeah.
what you typically search for. Is that the case with Perplexity? Does it learn you and is able to fine tune the results because you're always searching
Not
for
yet.
candidates?
Not yet. But what
Okay.
you can do is, and let's just go into the settings,
Mm,
blur that one out in edit. When you go under the profile, you can sort of create a persona for it. So while it won't learn that you are a technical recruiter, you could sort of tell it that this is what you are and this is the type of answers that you are looking for. In a similar fashion, how you can set up a custom GPT on
ah,
ChatGPT, where you can give
hmm
it guidance. The same thing is existing over here, where it's you can give it a persona, you can share information about yourself and all that, and you can also give specific guidance on how to operate, like how to format the output. Always put in a table spreadsheet with the list of names or something like that. So you can definitely do those sort of things. And the reason that I recommend going out and potentially trying out paying for it, look, the AI model, I am subscribed to this, so I am paying for Perplexity, but in exchange, look all the models that I can use. I can use
mm.
GPT-4 Turbo, I can use the latest Claude, and I can also use Mistral, which is the open source version.
Oh, that's
And
a bonus. I haven't played around with that one yet.
you should. It's becoming really, really, really good. I think both Mistral and Llama are getting closer and closer and closer, and I wouldn't be surprised if the open source market pushes out a couple of surprises this year. At the same time, ChatGPT 5 might be coming, 4.5. So the goalpost is getting moved, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if a model that is close or maybe even at the level of GPT-4 will come out this year from the open source world out there.
sure.
And the same thing with choosing models is also true for pictures, right? Like, do you want to do DALL-E or do you want to use Stable Diffusion? Stable Diffusion is open source. Or do you want to use Playground, which I think it's Perplexity's own stuff. So definitely worth, trying out at least for a month. Give it a trial for a month and see how it works. Because with the paid search, you have 500 more than I don't know when does that research, when search is left today refreshes. I definitely didn't run 40 searches today on it, but you have quite a few searches. And for me, Perplexity together with Kaggy, which is a conversation for a different day, totally replaced Google. Like, I did not run a Google search intentionally going over there and having it as a starting point for months now. But one last thing that I think it's might worth showing is that
Okay.
Perplexity has an extension.
Hmm.
You can go up to the Google Chrome store and download the Perplexity extension. And what does that do is, let me actually show that to you on SourceCon. I'll open up the Perplexity extension over here. It's the same thing as you've seen on the website, right? Ask
Mm-hmm.
anything. It also has this little focus button that we also had on the website. But if you hit the little focus button, you have different options. You have these two interesting things, this domain and this page. This page searches across what you see on the actual page, but this domain is interesting. Let's hit that, because in this case, it's only searching on the URL that you have open right now. And in this case is all of SourceCon. We did some nurse information gathering on Perplexity. Let's search sourcecon.com for the best ways of hiring sourcing nurses. How to source nurses.
This is sort of like a way of X-raying the site in a way.
Yes, it's sort of like an operator in this case. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like defining site sourcecon.com. And it's giving you some answers over here. Here comes the funny thing. If I hit any of these little URLs, it opens up the page. It's actually coming from a SourceCon page, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you start to think about the possibilities of this, has like on the website, you have reddit.com, right? Like that, it's built in. But for example, let's say you are looking for UI UX designers. You go up on Behance and you tell it like only search on this domain, or you go up on github.com and you say only search on this domain. And you can get very, very specific with your search terms over there, because it is natural language search and natural language querying compared to needing to know all the operators.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I can see someone being a beginning sourcer, going to SourceCon with this extension and just asking questions about how to do this, that, and the other. And it will sort of have the effect of being coached by the different
Yeah,
SourceCon experts who've been contributing content
yeah,
over the years.
definitely, definitely.
Huh.
You can also, let's just use it on a different way. This is an article with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points over here. Let's just bring up the extension again and set the focus to this specific page, like just this article, right? And you
Okay.
say summarizing 3 sentences. Now, what I found with AI models in general, it doesn't care about your typos. Like you don't
Yeah.
need to go back and edit. It's actually research bag that typos don't really matter. You shouldn't care about them. But what matters is how specific you are in your question, right? Like when I say just summarize in 3 sentences, summarize what? If you say summarize the article in 3 sentences, you get slightly better results. So in general, the best advice, not just with Perplexity, but with any AI tool, is when you're asking questions from it, be crazy specific. Like more specific you are, better your results will be. But
And
yep.
I see that it did answer it in 3 sentences, although the sentences are long.
Yes. Now that
It
is,
did do it.
yes, it is. It defining length with language models is tricky and it's tough because how it works is that when it starts generating the answer, it does not know what will be the last sentence of it or the last word of it. So it doesn't necessarily have the context of like what is a sentence or what is a paragraph.
Mm.
So you might need to go back and forth and again be even more specific and say summarize the article in 3 short sentences. And let's actually do that. Let's see what changes. And even if this doesn't work potentially that precisely, nah, it's still long. It's slightly shorter, but it's still long. So this
It-
shows that it does not have a sense of sentence, but it might have a sense of tokens. So you can say summarize the article using less than 500 tokens.
Explain the token thing. I know some
Uh,
of the.
the token the token is sort of like a credit system. Like each time you interact with and meanwhile this is even longer, and this shows the shortcoming of trying to define length in your outputs. But token is sort of the credit system that is used when you're communicating with a large language model. Like both your inputs, the questions, like the length of it is measured in tokens, and the output is also measured in tokens. You might hear the term called token window, of like how
Mhm.
much information can you put into a language model and how much information can it provide. The token window, the context window, is what is defined through tokens. And what is one token? It doesn't necessarily translate to like one word is one token. It's actually slightly less, and it depends on the complexity of the word and all that. But you could kind of like think about one token is more or less a short word, or like 3/4 of a longer word.
You know what I'm thinking? Right, summarize the article using less than um, 50 words.
Just pushed enter on the tokens on the 50 so we can have a comparison.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I think if you are as specific as, word
Yeah.
length.
Okay.
Experimenting in real time here, people.
Experimenting in real time. What could possibly go wrong? Live tests always work well, right? Slightly less.
Okay.
Slightly less.
Okay.
Because again, tokens vary. And let's not forget that the type of the answer that you get, or how is that answer constructed, how much sense can it make of your instructions of tokens, will depend on which language model you decided to use. And I'm using Claude, because the latest Claude 3 Opus model, I think, is better than ChatGPT when it's about phrasing things and getting to the point and what you actually wanted to see earlier without less back and forth. Maybe this answer looks slightly different if in the settings we go and change this to use an open source model such as Mistral, or use GPT-4, or use Perplexity's own open source stuff. So that needs to be taken into consideration.
This has all been very fascinating. I'm sure people will be running to Perplexity now to experiment with it. If someone had more questions and wanted to contact you for more information about this, or just sourcing in general, how can they contact you?
LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is the best place to get in touch. But also the Sourcing 7. Getting through the Sourcing 7, just go up on sourcing7.org, and that is the website of our nonprofit. And you can also find us on LinkedIn. But let's see, just to sign up, who are you in the eyes of
Perplexity says.
Of Perplexity?
Dun dun dun. Woohoo! There I am.
And this, just one thing that I want to highlight over here: YouTube. It's including the content from your YouTube videos. Right? It's looking at your LinkedIn page, your SourceCon page. I'm not sure this is you. The Amazon, your blog, Sourcing Summit, one of your podcast episodes, right? Like it's making sense of all the results, and it's giving you a summary. And as you can see over here, I'm using Claude 3 Opus for finding information about you. Like something like this, for example, could be very, very useful if you're doing executive recruiting. If you want to just create profiles of leaders, you can very, very easily just run a search and define what sort of output, what formatting, what information are you interested in, and quickly get it like this based on your search results. That means that it will be correct, and you can double check it anytime because all the references are there.
Very cool. Sort of like the poor man's background check.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Adam, I really appreciate your time here. Thank you for being on The Source.
Thank you for having me, and see you all next time.